Resident Evil is a franchise that I only got into recently. In fact, there was a few Capcom games that I only discovered last year, but have shot up into my favourite games list. I did play Resident Evil 5 as a kid, but you have to understand, I was a kid. I was fucking retarded, and I did not know how to play a Resident Evil game. Resident Evil 2 Remake was the first time that I properly played and beat a game in this series. And after that, I played Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 3 Remake. I was fairly underwhelmed and disappointed with this, so I decided to play the entire mainline series, minus these four, and that is what inspired me to make a video about this topic. Now then, what do you think is the worst Resident Evil game? Chances are you probably said Resident Evil 6. It has a story that's all over the place, a severe lack of horror, and gameplay that more falls in line with Call of Duty. And you know what? I agree with you, I don't like this game, but I don't think it's the worst game in the series. I think the worst game in the series is Resident Evil 0. Keep in mind, before this, I played Resident Evil Remake. It was very different to what I had played before, but I still really enjoyed the exploration, puzzle solving, and the fixed camera angles, giving me no time to react when a zombie came out of nowhere. Fucking piece of shit camera angle. Game gets a 7.5. So going from this to this is like Eden Hazard going from Chelsea to Real Madrid. It was fucking dreadful. Before I tear into this game, let me talk about the positives. It gives context to what happened to the Stars Bravo team. Alright, that's all of the positives of Resident Evil 0. Hope I didn't drag on with that segment. Now let's talk about my complaints.
Shh, be quiet, we can't talk during the cutscene or else it'll ruin his footage.
Oh yeah.
The first problem I have with this game is the story and characters. Like I said earlier, this game's only purpose is to explain what happened to the Bravo team and what Rebecca Chambers was doing before heading to the mansion in Resident Evil Remake. The main characters in this game are Billy Cohen and the human equivalent of Magikarp. They have some of the worst chemistry I've ever witnessed in a video game, due to a mix of terrible voice acting and a lack of personality from both parties.
Billy. Lieutenant Cohen.
So, you seem to know me. Been fantasizing about me, have you? Oh, I see. You're with Stars.
Wait! You're under arrest.
No.
I could shoot, you know.
The villain here is so bland, so forgettable, so inconsequential to the Resident Evil series that I seriously question the existence of this game. All he does is infect a train and sing, like that's his entire personality. He's a singer and dresses like the hero from Dragon Quest XI. He doesn't seem to pose much of a threat to Rebecca and Billy until suddenly, out of nowhere, he unleashes Random Chimp Event. It is then revealed that the Magic Man was nothing more than a mere pawn used by the true villain of this game, Monkey. After Billy saves Rebecca, we actually get some character development for him. It turns out that he was never a murderer, and that his leader in the army had ordered his squad to shoot at innocent civilians in an African village. Just, alright. Okay, that happened. Just... Can you even call that character development? That's just someone witnessing a fucking psychopath. Later on, Rebecca and Billy find a cable car. They're about to hop in when disaster strikes. Monkey returns and kills Billy Cohen. Rest in peace to a real one. Oh wait, never mind, he's alive. Rebecca and Billy encounter Dracula from Castlevania, who reveals that he's some doctor or whatever. It seriously doesn't impact Resident Evil in any way. Turns out he created the virus, but then he got assassinated, and William Birkin has a really bad evil laugh.
I will take over your research.
I actually forgot to mention that Birkin and Wesker were in a couple of cutscenes throughout the game. All they really talk about though is what they're going to do in their respective games. No exploration of either character at all, and they don't impact the story in any way. Magic Man has a little scrap with Billy and Rebecca, they win, they say goodbye, and Rebecca heads off to the mansion. A very bland, dull, and unnecessary story. The only thing you can take away from this entire story is that Wesker was planning to betray Umbrella. But the thing is, we would learn that in Resident Evil 5 regardless, so does this story matter in any way? It's seriously just bad. It's a bad story and you won't learn anything from it. Okay, the story wasn't so good. What about the presentation? I'm not one of those people who need graphics to be perfect to call a game good, but this game looks exactly like Resident Evil 1. Like they're running on the same engine and they were released around the same time, but Resident Evil 0's areas are not distinct at all and look a lot like the ones in Resident Evil 1. This is the same problem that I had with Resident Evil 3's remake. how a lot of its areas were near identical to Resident Evil 2's remake. Cutscenes that aren't pre-rendered have really aged poorly in terms of motion. They look really awkward. Graphics for the most part are fine, but don't expect anything extraordinary. Before I talk about the gameplay, I just want to ask Capcom, who made these control layouts? Each one has a problem that sticks out like a sore thumb. For some reason, you have to hold the right bumper to aim and the A button to shoot, not the left and right trigger like every other game. No, in this game it's the right bumper and A button. The amount of times I instinctively pressed the left trigger when I saw a zombie, only to open the map instead by accident, would be an incredible stat to see. And instead of having the run button on the X button, they put it on the fucking B button. So I was constantly opening my menu when I was trying to run, and none of these layouts fixed every problem I had with the controls. Each one had an issue. It's like they chose out the jankiest ones to put in the game. Now then, let's talk about gameplay. It's perfect. No, but seriously, it's just your run-of-the-mill early Resident Evil type gameplay. Fixed camera angles, tank controls, but you're better off with the alternate ones because of... and monsters that you can do nothing about when they attack you. Same thing as Resident Evil 1, except now you have 2 people to control. This means you're using up a lot more ammo and healing items, and as per usual, there isn't a whole lot here, so don't be surprised when you're constantly at low health. I would usually avoid the enemies to save ammo for the bosses, but the AI for whichever character you're not controlling is so fucking brain dead. It's like they're asking to die. Also, they like to waste bullets, so you have to make sure that they're set to neutral before making your way past zombies. I had to walk to the end of each hallway with both characters individually, which makes the game feel very slow. Like, it didn't take me too long to beat this, but it felt like I was playing for hours upon hours. Also, for no reason, the game decided to gimp both characters. Only Rebecca can mix herbs, and only Billy cannot die after one hit, which makes the parts where you're separate even more slow. Because Billy has to send herbs to Rebecca, Rebecca has to combine those herbs, and then send the combined herbs back down to Billy. You could do all the mixing and pushing with one character before this, so it's like Capcom wanted you to hate this game. Also, despite being labelled as a survival horror, the game isn't scary. Not once did I jump or get anxious. There just wasn't anything that really stuck with me. At least in a game like Resident Evil 4, it made up for the lack of horror with some exciting action and a compelling story. Actually, there was this one part that was so horrifying, so petrifying, that I'm glad it's only in this game. The save room has no storage box. When you found an item linked to a puzzle, you could just throw that into the box and take it out when you needed it. But oh no, not here, no. Instead, you have to drop the item on the floor and come back to get it when you need it. The problem with this is that you don't know when you'll need that certain item. You could be trekking all the way back to a room just to pick up a card that you need to open the door. It doesn't help that I don't know where the fuck I'm going, because none of these rooms are distinct. Thank fuck they never brought this back. Boss fights are fairly easy, which is surprising, because some enemies like Random Chimp Event are a massive pain in the ass, but then this motherfucker dies in like 5 hits. The only one that I found somewhat annoying was the last boss, and that's only because I got stuck in a corner. This game has a fine balance of way too easy and fuck you bullshit. I seriously don't know how to label the difficulty, and that's all I really have to say about Resident Evil 0. It's slow, it's boring, and it's not worth your time. In my opinion, it's the worst Resident Evil game in the mainline series, because I can at least laugh at how bad the story is in Resident Evil 6. Compared to the rest of the series, this game does not add anything to the Resident Evil lore. It can't even be remembered as a timed exclusive, like how Code Veronica is known as the Dreamcast game. This game was originally released on the GameCube, which already had Resident Evil Remake, and later it would get Resident Evil 4. Maybe I would have appreciated the game a little more if it was released on the N64, as originally intended. It seems that this might be an unpopular opinion, because when I looked up the reviews, many of them were very positive. IGN being classic IGN by criticizing the game and still giving it a positive score. Metacritic gave this an 83, and the user score is very good as well. Like, I'm surprised that so many people like this. Overall, I give this game a 2, because there was effort put into this, and